My Facebook. Okay, hi everyone. I think we are live. I'm just checking on my Facebook to make sure. Let's see. Yep. Let's see here. It does. It looks like I am live. All right. Okay. Yep. There we are. Hello, hello, hello. I hope you all got the message to join live right now at 12 noon here in the private Facebook group, Fertility and Spirituality Revealed. I'm also streaming this to a couple other places, but I'm so excited for day 10 of our online show. We have the wonderful doctors, two naturopathic doctors, Dr. Kara and Dr. Hillary from Cultivate Fertility, here with us to talk to us about the energy behind conception. So, as you know, we've been talking about a lot of spiritual topics and a lot of unseen forces that affect the fertility journey. And so here with us today is Dr. Kara and Dr. Hillary to talk to us about this. I'm going to let them really just pour from their heart, just, from our hearts to your hearts about what it means to be on this journey, what we can do from an energetic perspective. And I'm just going to pick their brain because they're a wealth of information. They're acupuncturists, naturopaths. They've got so much knowledge on how to boost up the body for fertility. So without further ado, I am going to bring in both Dr. Hillary and Dr. Kara. Here we go.
Hi, Nat. Hi. I couldn't see Karen. I'm like, is she there?
Hey,
How is everybody?
Good.
Good.
It's 80 degrees here in Miami.
I'm in a very warm sweater here in Connecticut. We're freezing but going skiing, so that's nice.
Awesome. And how is it over there, Hillary?
Oh my, well, can you see me?
Yeah.
It's raining. It's like raining in California. It's the biggest gift of all time. Like I think, are moving out of our drought situation, which is incredible. We'll see. So it's really, really good.
Fantastic.
Well, I had a thought because I had a patient yesterday that was making me think about this topic of sort of the energetics of getting pregnant and how, what Dr. Hillary and I do is, we do the nutrition, we do the supplements, we do all the hormone testing, we do all the sort of doctory fertility stuff. And we really find that it's incredibly important to address stress hormones and how somebody feels and sort of that, like, how do you manifest a baby? How do you actually call that baby in? Beyond, yes, you have to do all the little bits and pieces. But anyway, so I had a woman in for acupuncture yesterday, and she's had 5 failed IVFs, and now she's doing a different kind of cycle. She's searched and found a different way. So she's working through a new thing, but after 5 failed IVF cycles, she was really stressed, and so now she's waiting, she's starting the meds, she's doing the whole thing where people do with IVF. And I was thinking about this topic because I was like, literally she's shaking in front of me. She's just shaking. Like, she's trying to organize how she's going to travel to do this new cycle, how she's going to do all these things. And I was thinking, this is what it's about. This is going to be hard for a baby to set up in the body unless we deal with this and like get her in a really good, happy space, because there is something energetic about it. You wouldn't want to grow in a really stressed woman, right? So if you want to set up a house somewhere to grow for the next 9 or 10 months, you're going to want like a happy, healthy home. And so although she's done the diet, she does the supplements, she's done all the right things, this woman, she is shaking in front of me with just stress of how to coordinate this whole fertility treatment. So I think that's what this topic today is really about. Like, how do we support these women? It's so awful and heart-wrenching. I had like tears in my eyes just like looking at her because she looks so shell-shocked. She looks like she just saw someone get hit by a car, and she's been walking around for months this way. So I think that's what this is about. It's like beyond all the things we know we should be doing, and we need to get in order your thyroid and all the things. What do we do energetically about, like, how do we call it in?
Yeah, that's absolutely it, Dr. Kara. Yeah, what are all these unseen, once you have your diet, you have all the stuff in check. What are the unseen factors that are elusive? It's not so cut and dry. It's not so clear cut, right? And a lot of it has to do with factors that you can't really measure, like tangibly measure, like how do you feel, like the stress levels. How do you actually really tangibly help someone with that? So that's all of the things that you can't really pin down. That's what we're talking about.
Right. Yeah. And I had another thought on just, so say you're doing you're going naturally and you're not in an IVF cycle, and you're working on ovulation. That in itself is simply an energetic process. So we get a lot of questions. What food should I eat around ovulation? What exercise? All those kind of things. But in Chinese medicine, we talk about it as this burst of energy, and it's like the energy of a spastic little kid who's like running around. It's like a 2-year-old running around your house. It's that like constant energy. That's what your ovary is trying to accomplish with that burst of egg that is like a firework going off. Like, how does that happen? That's incredible, right? So how do we get that energy there? Like, how do we support that? That's kind of the question. And so that, again, stress will interfere with that. So stress, everybody knows that you sometimes get pregnant at a weird time, or people ask us, like, could the surgery I had or the thing that happened to me, could that have made my ovulation happen differently? Or, everyone's getting vaccines that can change the ovulation time. I've had so many patients come in and be like, it's so weird, I ovulated at the weirdest day. I'm like, well, I mean, that's just what happens with a shot, I guess, lately. But so I think that that's an interesting place to work too. Like, if we're supporting energy in like a natural cycle, then how do we calm everything down yet have that burst of energy? So I think that's another area to really think about, that energetics of getting pregnant is like around ovulation, because it is about some kind of crazy burst from your ovary, and we can't like take a pill or do whatever to control that.
Yeah, I love that. So here's what I think I would love to pick your brains around. This is what I'm thinking. If you can tell us like the energetics, like here's a couple of things. Like first, the energetics behind how the meridians and the body work. And like, what's the right, from the meridian perspective, what do women need to be thinking about when we talk about the energy behind conception from that perspective? And then also the energy, like what you're talking about now, like the spinning and this. So what are tips that we can give women in either way? Because there's a few different ways of looking at the energy behind conception, especially with the specialties that you ladies have, which is the acupuncture. And you also have such lovely protocols for self-care, which is so important, and they have to work hand in hand when we're talking about conceiving a child. So I'm going to turn it over to the both of you. I'm going to like dip out and let you handle, the energy behind perspective as it relates to what you do with the meridians of the body and the acupuncture, and then handle the second part that you are so beautifully setting up right now about how do we help these women who are spinning, who are stressed, who, are looking for a way to ground and bring control, but it's not easy without help of someone like the experts that are here to help us with this. So I'm going to pass it on to the both of you, and I'm going to dip out so it'll be the two of you on screen. I think that will be easier.
Sounds good. Bye, Nat.
Bye, Stevie.
So I guess, Dr. Hillary, we would start talking about the problem with the flow in meridians, which is stress around trying to get pregnant. I think that's just sort of, instead of explaining sort of how the meridians work, it's like, let's dive into like, this is the thing we see as the problem, because after all these years of working with fertility patients, we just more and more are coming down to, we just need to get organized as far as flow of energy in the body.
And I think maybe if we, it's like the combo of Eastern medicine and Western medicine, where it's a flow of energy and also a literal circulation. So that what we really spend a lot of time also working on is the blood flow, that where energy flows, blood also flows. Where blood flows, energy flows. So you kind of need both things to happen. And when you have a woman that is under significant stress, like this poor woman that you were with that's in fight or flight mode, trying to make so many decisions. I think that for some women, fertility journeys, women are making a lot of decisions, and there's a lot of management, especially if they're doing IVF or something, that you turn into a real kind of masculine energy in a sense, like of decision making and clinical thinking, or even women who aren't on in an IVF, but they're what am I needing to take, and organizing everything. It's almost like a very masculine energy, and there can be a circulatory and an energetic cutoff. So it's like, how can we get women to kind of be in that energy of thinking about their case clinically, thinking about what they need to do, trying to organize the diet, and then shift into the feminine energy of receiving, relaxing, letting blood flow happen, letting energy flow happen. And that's the magic. That's the balance.
And I think early on, we sort of turned to acupuncture as like, acupuncture seems to help this fertility thing. How does it do it? One of the main ways is through increasing blood flow to your ovaries and uterus. So that's just a really cool thing that acupuncture does, but you don't necessarily need to go to acupuncture for that. And so you and I spend a lot of time dealing with like, what is your cellular hydration like? If you're slightly dehydrated, or you're eating too much salty food or sugary food or too much caffeine, those things will tighten up the tissues, and then you don't get that proper blood flow. So you can be taking, lots of supplements every month, but they're not going to get to and nourish the ovaries and uterus unless you have good blood flow to those places. So you don't necessarily need to go to acupuncture. You could be exercising, you could be drinking really nice calming teas, you can do a lot of other things. You can do the hydrotherapies we always come back to. So I think that's a place to work. The meridians are just energy flow in the body. That's all it is. And so you can support that with lots of different daily things. And it's sort of like a constant choice thing of, I can have a bagel for breakfast, or I can have a really nice like overnight oats with lots of nuts and berries and maybe some almond butter, that kind of thing. And that's going to nourish me better and get better blood flow to my ovaries and uterus. And the bagel is just going to make me have a blood sugar spike and then drop. So that's not going to promote as much flow of energy in the body.
I could drink a cup of coffee in the morning, or I could have a ginger cinnamon tea that helps to bring blood flow. The coffee creates fight or flight and stress in the body. The cinnamon, do you like how I'm saying
I
that?
like cinnamon. That's like a new way. We'll call it cinnamon tea.
Cinnamon ginger tea creates warmth and flow to the second chakra, to the female organs. So we want to help women kind of create daily choices that don't feel stressful or a strain. It feels more like an additive, or just that it's a shift in thinking. And sometimes with lifestyle choices, they stress women out. But what we found is that when we at least just tell women, okay, there's this tea, people love doing that tea in the morning. And then it becomes a ritual that they don't have to think about. So it's one thing that they're doing for their fertility that's becoming a habit. What we want to do is create sort of daily habits so that we're taking the thought process out of it, and you're more flowing through your life. That in the morning, instead of checking your phone and starting out the day with a start, you're starting out the day checking in on your body, visualizing the family that you want, visualizing yourself feeling radiant, going through your day feeling really healthy. In the morning, making a breakfast that feels really nourishing, drinking a really hydrating tea, balancing your blood sugar, balancing your stress hormones through the day.
First, I want to hop in on that, because I think a lot of people hop out of bed, they check their emails, which, nothing great is coming on your phone. Like it's just like all the stress of the world is coming on your phone. So reality is that's a really poor choice for starting your day. It makes you stressed. It tightens tissue, and that will decrease blood flow and energy flow. So just getting rid of that cell phone, email, text check, looking at your schedule, all of that, just pushing it off a little bit in your day will make a better flow of energy in the body. So I think that's like starting your day. If you're going to do one thing from this today, it's, what do I do for that first hour when I'm awake in the morning?
I think that for women, there's we all know, we've all heard, anyone that's on this summit is hearing continuously the importance of energy, but what it comes down to is like daily practices that become habit and don't feel like a punishment. And having the phone, it's so hard for people because a lot of us use it as alarms. And so the alarm goes off and you're turning off the alarm. So you're right there staring at it. Hopefully it's been in airplane mode and you haven't had a signal going through the night. But so then you click it from airplane mode or whatever you do. This is like me this morning. And then everything, the dings start to happen, the notifications start to happen. It's so easy to get sucked in instead of a practice of prayer, a practice of gratitude, a practice of checking in, just checking in. Who am I today? How did I show up? Like, what's my energy? What's my astrology? How do I feel? Like, what's happening today in this day? I think also it really helps for women, even the night before, to set an intention for their next day. Okay, I've got some hours of work stacked. I've got a morning to really like know what's happening so that when you wake up in your day, you're just in the present moment. And some days I wake up feeling really good. Some days I wake up feeling like not great and or stressed. And so, okay, if I'm already starting stressed, how can I reclaim 5 minutes, 7 minutes to breathe, to check in? And it's so easy if you count the amount of time that you're on Instagram in the morning. For women on a fertility journey, if you're looking at Instagram and it's continuous fertility info, like that's like scientific and smart and like, are you doing this? And are you eating this? And are you taking this? Like I get stressed out by my fertility feed and I'm done with having my babies. And I get stressed by the science of it. And I am a scientist. Right? So like, okay.
I just had to pop in here and say, I can so relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm testing out his feature. Here we go. Bye-bye.
I like that.
I know. I was like, pop back in. But so right there, like, how can you create a flow in your life that feels really good? And like, I always say that so much of what the work that we do is almost like life coaching, crafting your life, crafting your days, crafting your week, so that you create space for you to feel in the flow of your life and in the positive energy of your life. And this is what helped me on my journey. And it was a really hard turnaround from from being a type A medical student to receiving energy. And I think part of it was we were studying Chinese medicine and we were doing Tai Chi and we were doing Qigong and we were doing these things that helped me really recognize that this pounding, the like go, 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 go masculine energy was really blocking my progesterone. It was causing a luteal phase defect and it was contributing to my PCOS. So like, it wasn't until I got really in touch with, oh my God, I'm driving so much. I'm driving from testosterone and the testosterone is blocking my pregnancy. In my particular case, Kara could be the same. Kara had endometriosis. Like, so her stress and energy and stress and driving of her life was really driving her excess toxic and estrogen. And these are really hard concepts to live. But the way you do it is by taking 5 minutes to check in and breathe, going to the stove and making yourself a tea with herbs that are magic and healing, ginger, cinnamon. You can find it on our website at Cultivate Fertility under blogs, a morning detox tea. You're filling your senses with herbs that are anti-inflammatory and create circulation. You're making a mindful breakfast that Kara talked about that's like full of fats and loaded with nutrients. You're drinking and hydrating your tissue so that when you like then go to start your work day, you've already had time. You've already built yourself in all this time to be grounded so that there's more energetic flow to your reproductive organs. And potentially a baby can look down and be like, that lady looks really, really calm and nice, right? Because both of these things are happening at once.
Can we address the issue with energy flow and circulation that we see a lot with people on restrictive diets? I just think it's so I think that so many women are in earnest trying to get pregnant and trying to be healthy and prepare their body for pregnancy, that they really do follow potentially good advice on diet, but to a degree where it's causing stress in the body. So then it's actually detrimental to getting pregnant. So that's something that we see a lot and we have to address a lot. And there are people that need to follow strict diets. That's true. But it's probably not as many people who are following them. So I just want to say, if you're out there and you're kind of like your diet you're following is really causing you a lot of stress, like check in with that. Like, do I need to really do this, or is this stress causing me an issue? And sort of figuring out what's the most important thing and picking out and working with someone to help you with that.
That's such a good point. And, I have a question somewhat related to that. It's about coffee. And, because coffee, that's one of the things that it does stress women out when we say you should cut it out, right? So it stresses them out. But can either of you talk about the energy that when you have coffee, because Kara, you were talking, or Hillary, you were talking about the testosterone being high and, all those things that happen when you're living this go, go, go lifestyle. And coffee is kind of part of that, right? Like, it's like you're waking up, you're being in this like, hyper alert mode. How does that affect the energy behind conception? Because here we're talking about a physical thing like coffee, but what are the energetic effects of that?
And this is one of those things where it's, everyone knows caffeine's not an awesome idea for when you're trying to get pregnant or stay pregnant. But I think that there really is no rule that you can have no coffee. That's just not a thing. It depends on the woman and their energetics. So coffee is really heating. Coffee's hot stuff. So it really depends on your hormone levels, your body, your constitution. Are you a person who has insomnia? Do you tend toward anxiety? Do you not detox caffeine really well? And it'll keep you up late at night. So some of our patients, we leave on a cup of coffee a day. They love it. It's their ritual. They're into it. When we're doing a detox with women, we have them switch to our morning detox tea and see how that works for them. But as far as, if you have multiple miscarriages, then you probably want to avoid all the coffee and the caffeine. That might be your issue. But energetically speaking, if you're a woman who's dry and has constipation and has a luteal phase defect and those, thyroid is your issue, et cetera, then maybe going off the caffeine is a really good idea, but it's not necessary for everyone either. So if it's your thing you absolutely love, like we're talking about energy and circulation and flow here. And if the smell of your coffee is just like the thing that makes you happy in your day and you're not drinking too much, you're having like a reasonable cup of coffee, then maybe you keep it in and it's something that just like feeds your soul and you love it. We lived in Seattle, Dr. Hillary and I, for a long time. So like the smell of coffee is a super happy thing to me. I love that smell. And I can see how some of these women they just like love that in the morning. And so sometimes leaving them on it is the proper choice, as long as it's not bothering their cortisol, et cetera. So coffee energetically is going to be really heating and stimulating to adrenaline. So if you're a person who gets riled up, like honestly, if you're not a super calm person to begin with and you're feeling stressed, coffee might not be your best choice.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I think that Kara and I we've studied together for years and been friends together for years. And we have very different energetics, and anybody that has heard us talk knows about this. Kara's a very fast coffee detoxer, and I'm a very slow coffee detoxer. And so what will happen is we drink the same cup of coffee. And I think I tend to be more naturally anxious than Kara. Kara, the coffee serves as a focus point for her. She can focus a lot and really use the medicine of coffee. Whereas for me, I get really hot. I get really like kind of stressed. I get like, "Wah!" And Kara's already burned hers off and can fall right asleep, whereas I'm still up and bothered. So for my fertility journey, I really had to learn about green tea and about some other herbs. I needed more adrenal support. Whereas for Kara, it wasn't, and I still like coffee. I grew up in Seattle. It was where we went to med school in Seattle. It was freaking freezing and depressing. We needed it. But for me, I learned to drink Swiss water decaf. I learned to drink some other things or to use herbs that help me detox it better. So, or that I can't drink coffee in the morning and not have fat or food with it. Whereas Kara can have something and her nervous system is less impacted. So this is so much about the personalization of a fertility journey. And like, yes, there are broad themes. Like everybody needs to put their hand on their heart and their hand on their tummy in the morning and check in with them. That's not an energy, like that is not a personality thing. But like we coming into balance and balancing your energy field and is an individual journey. And so this is why sometimes we find that women will read a book and or they go to a website and they're like, oh, you need all these supplements. And there's some really famous supportive websites that have offered a ton of, and books that have given women a ton of information. But we find is that they come on and they're like on DHEA and CoQ10 and this and this and this. If I would have taken DHEA on my fertility journey, I mean, I would have never, ever gotten pregnant because I have so much bloody DHEA and testosterone, right? So like, but I wouldn't have known if I was just reading about DHEA. And so same for Kara, if you put Kara on anything that's driving an estrogen, if you're putting Kara on maca or some of these real estrogenic herbs, like her fertility would have gotten even more off balance. And so some of this is just really starting to learn about the energetics of you. What is your frequency? What is your energetics? And how can you bring balance to that? And like, it's in the balance that often creates the best energy healing. Make sense?
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. And so what would you ladies say about the energetics of the mindset of the woman on the fertility journey? And Kara, you were alluding to this, talking about this earlier with the go, go, go. And, the woman who's like with all that air energy, frenetic energy. What would you say about that on the journey?
Well, so Dr. Hiller and I work with hard fertility patients. We love it when people come in like, I'm getting married and I want to prepare to get pregnant, and there's nothing wrong. We love those patients. They're not as many as the rest of our patients. The vast majority have had struggles. So working with those people, if you have had miscarriages, you're just having a really hard time getting pregnant to begin with, and you're starting to worry, or you've been through fertility treatments and they're just not working, that's devastating. And that's a dark, dark, dark cloud to be under. So those patients especially need support for self-care. And, there's grief, you have a loss, you go and, we get these emails. It's like they go for the ultrasound, there's no heartbeat. It's totally devastating. I can't see a path where it's like, be positive, it's going to work next time. I just don't think that's really that useful here. It's like, yeah, feel the grief. It's horrible. Okay, let's try and get a plan. Let's try and figure it out. And that's kind of where these women are. They're seeking out, and they're really highly educated on these topics because you can find a lot of information now. But it's figuring out sort of how to work with the proper practitioners and get the right choices made. But there's a lot of, I'm amazed at how you have to make all these appointments. You have to organize your life around it. You have to do so many things to try and get pregnant these days and to stay pregnant and have a healthy pregnancy, that we really do need to do those daily rituals to keep our energy flow going, to keep that sort of happiness and calm. So one thing we talk to people about a lot is, we're in these deep medical visits of this is wrong, this is lab, da 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 da. We're doing all this stuff. And then it comes down to, okay, now here's what we want you to do. What passion are you not feeding in your life? I like to do pottery. I don't really have access to that. But if somebody told me, like, go find a pottery class, do some pottery on the wheel, that would be really good for me. So I always sort of offer it up. I shared some stories like last week with a few patients about this. I signed up for a indoor plant gardening class, super nerdy, whatever. That's what I like. Okay. So you have to figure out what you like that's really weird and like get into it and like feed that in some way. And now you can find anything and just do it at your pace. You know what I mean? So it's like, Hillary would do none of those things. Hillary would want to like go to a party with loud music and like, I don't know, 50 of her closest friends. That's what she would do. That would make her happy. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to figure out like what you really love in your life. Like, do you want to take a cooking course? Like, I mean, it's incredible, the cooking courses with awesome chefs that are out there. Like, do you want to learn how to bake? What do you want to do? So that's kind of the thing of like feeding those passions will help you along the fertility journey. And I think it's just like not addressed enough. Like, yeah, we do all the other stuff, but this is something you can do. And you can all of a sudden be like, wow, I feel so much better. It's so weird. So that's what our advice is.
That's so beautiful. And it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
And so often overlooked when they're trying and trying and trying. They overlook what really actually brings them real passion and joy.
Well, it's time consuming finding all of this stuff. Every person on here, I'm sure, spends a lot of their extra time researching fertility and the right practitioners and all this kind of stuff. But in reality, one thing you can do is whatever you love.
Yeah. It's so beautiful, Kara. I love that. And we have a question here from someone in the audience. I'm going to throw it out and see who would like to answer. Can you please discuss how to best address diet, especially going gluten-free and dairy-free for fertility when you may not be sensitive? It is stressful to follow this type of diet when it's restrictive. Is it necessary for fertility?
Not necessary. So it really depends on the woman. So many people we have on such diets. It's not necessary for a lot of people. So it really depends on sort of what is happening with you. What have the struggles been? What's your medical history? We kind of have to go through the whole thing to figure it out. But it's not something that it's just there. You can't sort of fit everyone in the box. So it's not necessary. I had endometriosis. For me, being anti-inflammatory and being on an anti-inflammatory diet was really, really important. I don't react to gluten at all. That's not an issue for me, but it's a good choice for a person in that scenario, potentially. Hillary with PCOS, different diet advice. So you know what I mean? So we're just examples, like, we don't actually follow the same diet. I eat more vegetarian, Hillary eats more meat. Every person's really different. So you can't really follow one of those blanket dietary advice situations. I think if you're really trying to, it's like threading a needle. Like, you're a person, you have a lifestyle, you had your own history, your own psychology, you have your own thing. So I think it's very hard to sort of hop into a mass diet advice situation.
We've run a million detoxes and detox programs. It's been one of my main forms of medicine for years. And there's no one that doesn't walk away from doing an elimination diet or being off foods that doesn't learn something about themselves. Okay. And if I do 2 weeks or 10 days, 2 weeks, a month of a detox, where I'm really off of this stuff, look at, I feel different. I mean, I'm just less bloated. I have some less joint pain. All my patients feel different. Is it sustainable long term? For some people, absolutely super easy. For other people, it's really it's a stressful event, or they don't enjoy things as much, or wherever they're living, it causes them stress. This is what Kara got back to before. So I always think it's interesting to do like a prepare for pregnancy detox and to learn about your body. Like, what do you feel like on these foods? What do you feel like off of these foods? And then I think that finding some balance in 80-20 situation, a 70-30, how can you eat this way for 70% of your life, but 30% of your life when you're at a dinner party or with your friends, you're here, you're there, you don't eat that way. And what is the balance for you? So again, it's trying to find balance for people. Some people have no issues being on an elimination diet, and for other people it causes, if they had an eating disorder, it brings back eating disorder vibes and trauma. You know, I mean, if we say to a woman, hey, cut out dairy or gluten, and she has a history of eating bulimia or an anorexia, you sure as shit better believe that's going to trigger her and think, okay, go back into that mentality, even if she's healed a little bit, versus somebody. Kara's never had an eating disorder. I did have an eating disorder. We have to approach it really, really differently. I've recovered. I've gotten to the place now where I can look at food totally as medicine and fuel for my body. But it wasn't like that in the beginning when I was on a fertility journey. So when someone said, you need to be off of dairy and wheat, I was like, whoa. It brought me back into this really restrictive, stressful, more trauma than healing. So it's like, how can we always keep moving towards the healing place?
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's very different for people, but that's when it takes you, when you learn the energy of you. What is it that's bringing me joy? What is it that makes me happy? And that's why I love your mantras. Like, I love working with you, because then you're sitting and you're creating energy when you're doing some of these mantras. Or like Kara said, when you're doing something you love, you're creating energy for yourself. You're expanding your field. You're getting brighter. You're getting bigger when you're doing breathing, kundalini yoga. You're not, if you don't like kundalini yoga, you're not expanding yourself, then you're sitting there the whole time and thinking this is annoying. But so it's like, if you're like to dance, if you like to listen to music, if you like to plant plants, what is it that expands your energy field? I guarantee you, if you're in this expansion and you go to a party and you're not celiac and you're not sensitive in the whole nine, but you go and you eat gluten, it's going to matter a lot less to you than if you're contracted and stressed, because the body's just operating better.
Mm-hmm.
Everything operates better when we're bigger and brighter and more confident and more alive, and our chakras are flowing and things are open.
I want to also say that, we are a big believer. We're naturopathic physicians. We're big believers in diet. And we, with our patients, give them a diet course because we're really big believers in diet. But part of the reason is because we see common nutrient deficiencies that we can address with food. So we want to make sure they're eating those foods. So it's more our stress in diet is more like, we stress, like, what should you be eating? Like, add these things in, rather than take all of this stuff out and get really, it's like stagnant energy. It's like you're going to get stuck, because I see a lot of that, and it does worry me. And so I think that it's like, be cautious with the diet. I literally can ruin any food. Like, I can, if you ask me, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? I can come up with a reason not to eat anything. So just keep that in mind. Like, if you start looking stuff up, you're going to come up with a reason not to eat anything. Like, lentils are terrible. Nuts are terrible. Zucchini is terrible. I can come up with a reason. I can make a reason up. Like, there is something we can come up with a reason. But in reality, that's not really a good way of thinking about food. What we want to do is be like, this is nourishing because it has these nutrients in it, and it's going to do this for my body, et cetera. It's going to support my body, my reproductive function. So be careful about that and being so strict. I don't think it's as much of an issue as currently what we see with patients coming in. So there are many people who need to be gluten and dairy free, but it's certainly not everyone.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really, really, really insightful. And where does the tie-in between balancing your hormones and creating the right energy? And the reason why I ask this is because we have our hormone balancing intensive coming up in January. And so I'd love to tie what we're doing here and the theme of the show and the energy behind conception and how our spiritual practice and how you alluded to, checking with yourself in the morning and creating all of that space for our spiritual growth that is so crucial when we're bringing in another baby from the other side into our body and to join our family. How does our state of the endocrine system and our balance from the hormonal aspect, how does this tie into everything?
I guess I'll just be really quick with like stress impacts the hormone system. So in Chinese medicine, your heart controls all the hormones. So we kind of think of the brain as controlling all our hormones in Eastern medicine. But I love that because we get that, right? Like heartache, you get chest pain, palpitations when you're stressed. Like we get that the heart really controls our emotions. And so we feel pain in our heart, and so if you're not happy, healthy, pursuing your passions, just in a really good space, then it's going to impact your hormone health and make it less likely to have a pregnancy and end up with a happy, healthy baby in the end. So I think that's what this workshop is all about, is sort of exploring the ways we can support our hormone systems, with the things you do, Annette, with some nutrition, with some cooking, with some teas, with all of those kind of things. So I think we're trying to address it, from the perspective of like, how do we best get balance in our hormone system?
Yeah, I love that. And, I just think it's so important, the state of our nervous system, right? To everything that you both were talking about before with how that affects the energy. So our nervous system is so, so, so important. And then that really drives what happens with the endocrine system. Because if we don't feel safe, the hormones and the messages flying out to the rest of the body is that of we need to protect, we need to hold down, we need to hunker down. It's not expansive. It's not that big, bright, beautiful body that we want to have, that expansive aura, that expansive spiritual connection, right? That's what's going to create from a spiritual place that bringing of the baby in, right? We want to be tapped into that. And so I love how all of this just goes hand in hand. You've got to have the strong spiritual connection so that your body can function well, so that your nervous system can be balanced, so that your hormones can do what they need to do, right? Because if things are not feeling balanced, Hillary, what happens to our hormones?
Well, we get into our genetic bad patterns. Mine is PCOS. I start driving too much testosterone.
Yeah.
Kara's is estrogen dominance. She starts making more estrogen. Our body will default to its imperfect machinery. The way that the machine we are born with sort of genetic imperfections, especially some people on a fertility journey. We all have kind of different things we don't do right in a way. And that the more we bring ourselves into alignment, we're setting the stage for the body to absorb minerals the right way, for the machinery to kind of correct and hum. That you need the car analogy is so whack, but you need oil and you need gas. I mean, I didn't even know about oil in a car until I didn't have it once and my car didn't run. And I was like, oh, I mean, and I think that's kind of how it is with some women with their bodies. They don't really know and sometimes difficulty with periods or difficulty getting pregnant is like the first thing they're really up against that's hard. And many women have driven themselves towards achieving their goals. And this is actually the first thing that you can't drive yourself to. You have to receive into, you have to soften into and balance into. And that can be a really hard lesson for a lot of us. And it is the ultimate lesson for motherhood. Fertility journeys are just training grounds for motherhood, because in motherhood we actually it's a long marathon of not being in control in any way. And so it's this letting go and finding balance and flowing and being the Tai Chi master in a sense, right? Like, and it's easier said than done. It's easy to hear a lecture and be like, okay, I'm going to get spiritual. I'm going to have these mantras. I'm not going to check my phone. But the truth is that we need accountability. We need coaching. We need support. We need help. I need help. Kara needs help. Everyone I know, my patients, everybody does better when you're in a community of support. So that's why we've created our hormone balance intensive. What are some things that we can help you with? What are some things that Annette can help you with, so that every Saturday in January you can show up, you have something to do, you have time on your calendar to just learn strategies. You have homework that you really work on one thing, because if not, you get overwhelmed. And when the body goes into overwhelm, cortisol takes over and their hormone systems become imbalanced, right? So it's just this subtle dance.
Hold on, Jack. Oh my, sorry. That's my little.
That's your cue.
Okay.
That's okay, Jack. Someone was calling me. It's fine. So I dropped the link for the January intensive right there. I hope that's the right link. I'm pretty sure that is. So you can sign up right there. And that is really the gold of doing a program like this, because you can listen to all the stuff and you might even know what to do already. But having a group or a team or a coach or partners to do it with is really where it's at. Like that's 90% of it. If you know what to do, but don't do it, or maybe do a little bit or don't go all the way, well, then it's not really, what did you really do for yourself? So it's learning it, but then it's also actually being actionable and doing it. So this January intensive, we're actually going to do stuff just like in the hormone balancing workshop that we had back a couple of months ago. We did stuff within those 3 hours. It was jam-packed. We brewed a tea. We learned how to do it. We did mantras. We did breath work. I mean, we were actionable and we did it right in class. And that is what this intensive is going to be about. You're going to learn recipes, you're going to learn breath work, you're going to learn mantras, you're going to learn teas, and are foods going to be a part of it, of course, right?
Oh,
yes. You guys are so good
You
with that.
You get a toolbox, and that's kind of what you need now, I think, if you're struggling at all.
Yeah, awesome. So this is going to be really like one of the best things that I think we're going to do next year. So it's to kick off the year in the right way. So sign up there. And these beautiful ladies have a free gift for everybody. So make sure you also do that. And I hope that this, did it show up in the, I'm going to drop it again because I don't know if it's showing up or not. It's telling me it's showing up, but I don't know. So let me just drop it in one more time. And this is where you can find, it's the 5 ways to prepare for pregnancy from Cultivate Fertility. So here we go. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. So make sure you click on both, get your free gift from Dr. Kara and Dr. Hillary, and check out the intensive that is starting. I believe we're going to start is at the first or the second weekend in January. Once you sign up, you'll get the email with the schedule and all of that good stuff. But sign up so that you can start your year off in a really balanced way. And I love how you guys were talking about alignment, because that's so important. I'm going to get to these questions as well. There's a couple other questions, so I'll get to those and hopefully we can answer them quickly. But that alignment piece is just so key, and it's really aligning everything. It's the energy, it's our emotional body, it is aligning the physical body, the organs, and all of that. And then with the meridians of the body, working with the meridians to create the proper blood flow, to create that expansion. We're going to be doing that on multiple levels. It's the foods that we eat, it's our mindset, it's the intention that we set. It is we're going to do the breath work and the mantras. All of it is to create opening, expansion, exactly what Hillary was talking about, not the constriction, which is the opposite of fertility. You want to open so you can receive. And so things flow. And so the blood is flowing. It's all working hand in hand. And we're all on the same energy. Like we're all on that same path. It's all to do the same goal. So you've got partners in your journey to help you all follow that one goal. And there's nothing competing. It's all happening at the same time. So it's just progressive, it's cumulative. The more you do it, the more you can relax and be at ease. And that's when fertility happens.
That is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That is the woman that goes on vacation. And it's not just about relaxing, but it's the woman who finally adopts the kids and gets pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of those.
That's it. So I'm going to pop a few questions. Do you ladies have a couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So would you mind commenting on Vitex chasteberry as a supplement? I'm thinking of adding it. I don't have any problems with my cycle or anything. Thanks.
So I guess my question on that is, I love the idea of like adding things to augment fertility and to help you, but I would go for more like nutritive herbs, because Vitex really is a hormonal herb. So if your cycle's perfect and you're ovulating and you're just not seeing any issues there, Vitex would not be the herb for you. You might mess up your cycle. So I think I would go more for things like nettles and more nutritive herbs that just help the overall body. So if there's no cycle issue and we don't have any, real reason, I don't think I would do that.
Rose hips, nettles,
right.
oat straw, herbs that are calming to the nervous system, but we really don't love women putting themselves on hormonal herbs. And we consider Vitex to be a hormonal herb.
And the reason why, I guess, is because we've just had so many patients who have messed up their stuff with taking improper herbs. Herbs are, they're our first drugs. That's what herbs are. They really do shift physiology in the body. So it's important to make sure you're working with like the right herbs. And herbs have a whole energetic quality to them. So like I can take an herb and Hillary can take an herb, and it's not going to have the same effect in both of us. So you have to really match the energetics of the herb with the energetics of the person. For instance, you can have a very drying herb, like say rhodiola. A lot of people like to take rhodiola, but if you're a super dry person, you're more of that like Vata constitution, like the wispy kind of like dry skin, dry hair. Like I'm actually quite dry. I that's not a good herb for me. So we do want to think carefully about the herbs. And I know that, you find out, oh, my friend got pregnant using this, and you want to take it. It totally makes sense. Like, of course, but actually it's good to make sure you work with somebody who knows the herbs really well. There's another question on the cruciferous here.
Yes, I've read that cruciferous vegetables can rid the body of excess estrogen, but I also know that estrogen is important for building the endometrial lining. Should I lessen my consumption of cruciferous vegetables during my follicular phase when estrogen is being released?
So this is the thing of like, broccoli's so good for us. We can ruin any food, right? Now we've ruined broccoli. This is my exact point, where we read about the foods and these things are totally valid, but it's maybe a little bit not appropriate in the circumstance. So cruciferous vegetables work with your liver. They do help you detox hormones, steroid hormones, sex hormones. but they're very good for you. And I cannot say that I've ever seen a case where it pulled the estrogen down to a point of we have a problem here. But could that theoretically happen if somebody eats like a massive amount of cruciferous vegetables? Probably. I think they're hard to get that much of them. It would more be the DIM in a pill form or like a broccoli extract pill form. That's a really high dose that could change the hormone levels. So I'm just going to throw this out there. If this was because we've been asked this question a million times, if this was a real problem, women on birth control would be getting pregnant. So let's just scrap it, because people eat broccoli all the time. And if you're taking, birth control and broccoli, it would pull down the estrogen in the birth control. You would ovulate and potentially get pregnant. It just doesn't happen. Like it's not a thing.
Mm-hmm. And then one more question here. Serapeptase for fibroids. Anything about serapeptase?
Do you want to talk about that, or you want me to do it, Hill?
Go ahead.
I'll do it. Okay. Those are really good enzymes. They're really anti-inflammatory. In Chinese medicine, they're blood cleansers. So that's super awesome. It's like taking inflammation out of the body. We love them, love them. I am going to say we need more information on the fibroids, the size, the location, this or that. And I also, we're like upfront about the fibroid question, because we're not going to be giving a supplement that dissolves the fibroids. Like, I don't want to give false hope on that one. Like, you might need it removed. So I just want to make sure that, you're working with someone who is looking at the size of the fibroid, the location of it. They can be a real reason for implantation issues and fertility issues. Many fibroids don't bother at all. So it's really important to get that information. If you're trying to stop them from growing, like say you're a person, I'm super estrogen, I have a lot of estrogen. I've had many fibroids, this is a thing. That potentially could be something that helps you not get more or not get bigger or something like that. But it would be a really specific case. I think we need to know more and think about it really clearly and logically. I don't think that doing that one thing is solving your problem. I really wouldn't put so much weight on it.
But we sure love cruciferous vegetables for women with fibroids.
Yeah, we do.
Right? So if you're getting 2 to 4 cups of greens and helping your body detox some of that estrogen, it super helps. Mm-hmm. But I would never, ever, ever be afraid of getting a fibroid procedure if it's indicated. I've seen pretty much only success with fibroid. I mean, obviously things can happen with surgical procedures and can be an issue, but if fibroids are blocking your fertility, go get a great OB and get some. That is a situation where sometimes removal of those fibroids makes a huge difference.
Yeah, there's lots of things where the herbs are your way, and the fibroids is not one of those things, or the enzymes. It's just I don't want to have people waste time. Just get that one dealt with. And if it's not a big deal and you're trying to block growing, get on a protocol. There's probably 3 or 4 things you could do.
Awesome. And then one last question. Is there anything you recommend for diminished ovarian reserve? I'm 33 and was placed on HRT for high FSH and premenopause, but want to follow a more natural approach.
So the thing about these cases that are super challenging is I don't ever mind necessarily using hormone when indicated if a woman's having hormone deficiency. Being 33 and having low estrogen basically can be really, really hard and not great for her long-term health. But if she wants to get pregnant, we have to figure out why the hell she's in premature ovarian insufficiency. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of different things. Some of it comes from the pituitary, and that needs to be solved. It can also come from, in my mind, what I've seen a lot of in my practice is stealth infections from if there's mold in the home, if there's Lyme disease, chronic infections that are causing this chronic long-term stress on a patient. The patient doesn't feel the stress, but the body's under physical stress that she sometimes can't see, touch, or feel. It's not fair, but it can happen. It is not normal for a 33-year-old to be in menopause or perimenopause.
Mhm.
And the hormones sometimes can be healing for a patient, but generally you have to figure out why. And if you're not with a doctor or provider that's figuring out why, and they're just putting you on hormone and you don't have a baby yet, then you have to figure out why.
Mhm. Yeah, there's probably like 8 things we need to rule out on this. There could be, things people don't look for. Like you could have detox issues. You could have some kind of environmental exposure. We do want to really look there and make sure that you're not having that is a person who could have a major reaction to a food, etc. Like we would want to look at that case a little bit more deeply, so we can't sort of answer it. But I do want to tell you that we see this kind of thing and it does get reversed sometimes. So I think it is worth that work of trying to figure it out, because sometimes it can get reversed. But I never want someone to waste time. So make sure you know your timeline, et cetera. You don't want to be in a situation where you lose out because it just hasn't been sort of dealt with. So
but if you're 33,
aggressive, that's what I want to say with that.
Yeah, but if you're 33, and you haven't worked with like a functional doctor to see what the why could be, and no guarantees. I mean, I have a 34-year-old that had to go through cancer. She had cancer. Her FSH is high and it's not going to recover most likely because of the damage from the cancer treatment. Okay. So there's different reasons why these happen to people. Some people go into premature ovarian failure from a very dramatic acute stress, and then that stress can heal and the body can recover. Sometimes it's from a pituitary adenoma. Sometimes it's from, like I said before, that she's living in a room with mold and has no idea. And has a lot of other symptoms, but nobody's kind of put it together. So you just want to figure out why, and you have a time frame that you kind of got to figure it out. Yeah. But your doctor's not wrong. If you have a high FSH and you're 33, your doctor's not wrong to have you on estrogen. We have to protect your bones and your brain and your heart while we can. You have to have that stuff. We just have to figure out the why for your fertility.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to have a private consultation with these ladies, sign up for the free gift, because you'll get connected to them, and then you can either email them or, you'll just be in connection. So make sure you sign up for their free gift. That's the first step in getting in contact. But a lot of these issues would require a consultation to really get down to what could be possible, so that you have some next steps that you can really act on. And yeah, I would definitely recommend that if there's any of these issues that are not the norm, or anything specific that you really need to hone in on.
And you can just go to cultivatefertility.com. We've got to work with the doctors. You can also get to us from there. We would love to help sort it out. There's just some times where it's small little tweaks, and
How long are these workshops on Saturdays? We're over an hour now. We definitely need a 2 hour.
Yeah. So the workshops on Saturdays, yeah, they'll probably be like,
They're 2 hours, right?
Yeah, I would say 2 to 3 possibly. We'll send you the info.
Okay.
We don't get through things fast, but we are going to give a lot of info.
Yes.
Yeah, sign up. It's a great way for people to work with all of us and be in community, and at a price point that felt really reasonable for us to show up. So invest in yourself a little bit in getting your January feeling really balanced and connected.
Yes. We'd love to see you there. So go ahead and click on that one and make sure you all get their free gifts, so that you are all connected. And I am so excited to see you ladies. Thank you so much for sharing so much. This was fabulous. I loved it. And I know that this content, this information is going to help so many women that are watching. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Annette. You beautiful beauty. Have a great time. Have a great rest of the year. A couple of months.
Yes. And I'll see you in January, like next week.
I know it's coming.
Next week. So hopefully you're joining us. Okay. I hope all of you are joining us at the January intensive. It's specifically to balance the hormones, but talking about all the stuff that we've discussed today, those are all ways that we will be balancing the hormone. So, and if you have any specific stuff, well, you're going to be right there with these two doctors that you'll be able to get further attention if you need it, consultations and all that stuff. But get connected with us so that you're in the flow, you're working with us, and you're getting what you need to carry you through the beginning of the year and on your way to your beautiful family. That's what we're here for. So, okay.
Thank you.
So much love to everyone. Bye-bye.